Greetings, programs. My name is Wretch, and I'd like to welcome you to Steve Jackson's House of Hell. I'm back with another fighting fantasy game book by Tin Man Games. Those who follow the channel know that I have done quite a few of these, and this has a very different vibe from the ones that we've experienced. Normally they've been about medieval adventures, or superheroes, or space travel. This has a very demonic hammer horror vibe with a little bit of Cthulhu mixed in. I'm really digging it, because I don't do stuff like this on the channel all that much. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I've enjoyed all the fighting fantasy games, and I started it earlier just to make sure everything was recording correctly. And here we go. House of Hell is a fighting fantasy game book, an interactive adventure in which you are the hero. You can only win by choosing the correct path, finding equipment, avoiding traps, and surviving combat. House of Hell is a little different from other fighting fantasy adventures. You start your adventure unarmed with no provisions or potions, and you have to avoid being frightened to death. So there's a new aspect we need to pay attention to. Before starting House of Hell, you must choose from one of 3 difficulty settings. This gamebook has been designed for optimum challenge on hardcore and medium difficulty modes. So we've got medium, free read, and hardcore. Let's see. Play House of Hell exactly how Steve Jackson designed it. Nothing has been changed from the printed version. Your starting skill is calculated by rolling 1d6 plus 6. Maximum fear. Well, I'll tell you what, we definitely would like to play this how Steve Jackson designed it, so we're going to avoid medium and beginning mode, and I've played enough of these things. Let's go for hardcore mode. You have chosen hardcore mode. Before embarking on your adventure, you must first determine your own strengths and weaknesses. To see how brave, lucky, and resourceful you are, you must use dice to determine your initial skill, stamina, and luck scores. Now, we're going to be rolling for our stuff. Now, an interesting thing about these games, if you haven't seen them, there's a mechanic that I like to call slamming down on the table, and you can actually pop the dice up if you don't like the result before the dice actually stops moving. I wonder if they fixed that. You begin House of Hell with no weapon, so you start off the adventure with 3 deducted from your initial skill. Hell's bells. Okay, well, let's see what happens here. Alright, your roll of 5 plus a base 6 means your skill is 11. I'm okay with that. We'll go for stamina by rolling 2 dice and adding 12 to that number. 7 plus a base of 12 means your stamina is 19. I'll go with that. These dice are moving really fast. Now, luck indicates how naturally lucky a person you are. Luck and evil are facts of life in the devilish domain you're about to explore. Oh, we are not lucky. I popped it. Your roll of 3 plus a base of 6 means your luck is 9. That's okay, I guess, considering the fact we're about to roll either a 2 or a 1, so slamming the table does work. Now, finally, your fear. Now, this is a new mechanic. As well as surviving your adventure by ensuring that your stamina never drops to 0, in House of Hell you must also avoid being frightened to death. Roll 1 die and add 6 to determine your fear. This total will give you the maximum fear score that you can bear. Your fear score is the number of points you can take before being frightened to death. So, hey, how about that? Your roll of 6 plus a base of 6 means your fear is 12. So that's not horrible. And looks like we're starting. The rain spatters the windshield relentlessly. You can see no more than a watery gloom as you strain forwards over the steering wheel to see the road ahead. Although the wipers flap valiantly, they're fighting a losing battle as the rain drives harder and harder. Your foot eases off the accelerator. The headlights struggle to light up the road. Damn. You curse the white-haired old man who sent you along this bumpy track. Probably he meant the second turning on the left, or even a right turning. The old fool. Perhaps this was his idea of a joke. After all, didn't you notice a mischievous glint in his eye? Something vaguely sinister? But what sort of nonsense is this? So you've taken a wrong turn and got caught in a downpour in the night. The rain will ease off soon, it can't possibly keep up this deluge that long, and then you'll be able to... Watch out! You spin the wheel frantically to the left to avoid the figure who, from nowhere, shows up in the headlights. The car bumps and jolts as it bounces over the rocky roadside and thumps into a ditch. You collect your thoughts. You're unhurt but shaken. Then you remember what has happened. The body. He must have hit the figure that appeared. There was no way you could have avoided him. You spring out of the car, praying that he's still alive. Your clothes soak up the rain as you hobble back to the road. In the darkness, it's difficult to see anything, but there's no sign of a body. You consider the situation. Are you certain that it was someone and not a trick of the light? Yes, you can remember the arms held up in fright as the car collided and the look of anguish on his face. His face. There was something familiar about that face. A man you recognized. An old man with white hair. Your heart leaps. No, it's impossible. With a shiver of fear, you race back to the car, jump inside, and force the key into the ignition and twist it violently. The starter coughs, splutters, and dies. You hit the key again, but this time a single shudder is all the engine can manage. You grasp the wheel with your hands and shake it desperately as if to force some life into the car. But the battery's dead. Your car is certainly not budging from the ditch tonight. Your situation is hopeless, but now the plight of your car is paramount. Where can you get help? You passed a garage at Mingleford, but that was some 20 miles away. As if in answer, a light appears in the distance. Someone switched on the bedroom light. What a stroke of luck. It was at least 15 miles back that you passed the last house, and you happen to have broken down just a short distance from someone's home. You button up your coat and open the door. From outside the car, you can see the building more clearly. Just ahead on the left, a drive winds up to a large house, and it's a good 5 minutes walk away. By the time you reach it, you'll be drenched. But how else can you call the garage? You can't afford to miss tomorrow's appointment. No. Go you must. Anyway, you'll probably be able to dry off inside phoning the garage. You slam the door, turn up your collar, and set off for the house. A flash of lightning lights it up clearly for you, but in your preoccupation with the rain, the warning from above is wasted on you. The house is old. Very old. And in a shocking state of repair. The light in the window is flickering, most likely an oil lamp, certainly not electric. And you don't notice a fact that might have turned you back anyway. There's no telephone line going to the house. As you climb the steps to the front door, little do you realize what fate has in store for you. Tonight is going to be a night to remember. And, it looks like the Bates Motel. Or the Amityville Horror House. You climb the creaking steps up to the front door and pause to catch your breath. Even though you ran all the way up the drive from the car, you were soaked through. Your feet are particularly wet. Judging by the number of puddles you stepped into in the dark, the drive needs a small fortune spending on repairs, but under the porch you're out of the storm, and you brush the rain from your clothes before turning towards the door. The rain is still pelting down, but an eerie silence hangs in the air. No lights are on downstairs. You step back off the porch to check the upstairs window, which attracted your attention earlier. Nothing. No lights. The whole place seems to be deserted, but then you remember the time. 5 minutes to midnight. Everyone in the house has probably gone to bed. An owl hoots in the distance and a shiver runs down your spine. The situation is a little scary. Here you are in the middle of nowhere at some strange, run-down old house about to wake up whoever lives inside at midnight. They certainly won't be too pleased. But you have no choice if you're going to make your appointment tomorrow. You must reach a telephone to call for help, and you step up to the front door. From the left-hand side of the house, a dull glow catches your attention. A light's been turned on. You breathe a sigh of relief. At least someone's awake. You consider your options. There's an elaborate knocker in the middle of the door, and a bell pull hanging down to the right. Will you wrap the door with the knocker? Will you pull the cord, or you could creep around the house to investigate the light? So here's our first decision, guys. Let's go ahead and do what we normally do here. And we will add a bookmark so we can go back here in case we die horribly. So we can pull the cord, wrap the knocker, or investigate the light. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and wrap the door with the knocker. That's for opening the door and getting people's attention. So let's go with that. Turn to page 357. A few moments later, the door handle turns slowly and the door opens. Standing in the doorway is a tall man dressed in a dark suit with tails. His long face is solemn. "Yes?" he asks indignantly. You smile nervously and explain your situation. Your car is broken down, and you need to reach a telephone, and you're soaked to the skin. The man's face remains expressionless. "Come in," he orders. "The master is expecting you." "Follow me." He leads you into a reception hall and tells you to sit down while he informs his master of your arrival. Well, unfortunately, this isn't Torgo. You sit down in a solid carved chair and look around. The reception hall is certainly not what you would have expected from the outside. It is elegantly decorated with rich tapestries and fine oak panels. A number of portraits line the walls, and a sturdy 16th century table is set against one wall. Wait for your host to arrive, study the paintings, or hunt for a telephone. Well, we could study the paintings. Let's bookmark and we will study the paintings. 3 portraits are particularly interesting. Will you look at a beautiful young woman wearing a tiara, a middle-aged, portly gentleman wearing half-moon glasses, or look at the elderly woman with gray hair and a cold expression? Now, my initial thought would be to look at the beautiful young woman wearing a tiara, but I think that's probably a trap, so let's look at the middle-aged, portly gentleman wearing half-moon glasses. You study the portrait of the Duke of Brewster, 1763 to 1828. A rather elegant sort of chap, you think as you stare at him, but suddenly you jump back. You could swear you saw his eyes move. A moment later, your suspicions are confirmed. His eyes are definitely moving, directing your attention towards one of the doors in the hall. What's happening? Your car breaks down and suddenly you're in an elegantly decorated derelict house with moving portraits. I'll tell you what, we can look at another painting. Let's just sit back in the chair and wait for the host to arrive. If we need to look at these other paintings, we can always go back. Ooh, he looks lovely. Footsteps. Someone's coming. The tall man you met earlier walks in, opening the door for another tall man, dressed in a red smoking jacket. "May I present Lord Kelnor, the Earl of Drummer," the butler announces. The Earl holds out his hand and you shake it. His grip is strong and his eyes pierce yours. His lips widen into a soft smile. You begin to tell him of your predicament, but he holds up his hand. "Please, I can tell that you've been caught in this filthy storm. Let us sit by the fire and we'll see whether we can help. Franklins, tell the cook to prepare some food for our visitor." You protest that you do not wish to be any trouble, but your host ignores you and leads you into the drawing room where a fire is burning. You take off your coat and sit down. The heat of the fire makes you feel comfortable once more, and Franklin returns with 2 glasses of brandy. Well, let's go ahead. This brandy's probably going to kill me, I would imagine. But let's drink the brandy and ask if we can use a telephone. The fire and brandy warm you and you begin to feel more relaxed. You lose 1 fear point. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You explain to the Earl what happened on the road and that you would like to use his telephone to call the local garage. "I'm afraid our telephone line came down tonight in the storm," he replies. "We'll have it repaired tomorrow morning. In any case, the garage would not come out here at this hour, but don't worry, you're perfectly welcome to spend the night here. I'm glad of the company. Tomorrow Franklin's will take you into town." "Ah, here's Franklin's now." The butler comes back in to announce that a meal is ready, and you both rise to go into the dining room. The dining room looks magnificent. A long table stretches between 2 fine chairs and is laid with gleaming silver cutlery. A rich red wallpaper covers the walls, and the room is lit by a sparkling chandelier, bristling with candles, which hangs from the ceiling. You take your seat, and the butler moves behind you to offer you wine. What wine would you like to drink? White wine or red? I'm a Merlot guy myself. I like red wine, so we will bookmark and go with the red wine. Hopefully this is not human blood. The wine is impeccable, a fine vintage. Soup follows, and then you may choose between 2 dishes for your main course. If you would like lamb, turn to 196, or if you prefer duck, turn to 115. You can tell your host that you have already eaten and you're not hungry. Well, I don't want to insult him by telling him that we're not hungry after they preferred this, so lamb or duck? You know, I've actually eaten duck before. I think I've eaten lamb too, but duck is really interesting. It's like you're eating meat, but it has the consistency of an orange. At least how it was prepared when I ate it, so let's go ahead and go with the duck. Your mouth waters as a roast duck is laid before you. The Earl is having the same, and you both chat as you eat. He wants to know how you came to be driving along this road in the middle of the night, and you tell him about the old man's directions. You ask him about himself and his family. That's probably not wise. The Earl of Drummer is the last survivor of his family. His estate stretches for miles around the house. At one time, the estate was prosperous, with many tenant farmers cultivating his land and providing a healthy income for his family. But things started to change. His sister died at the age of 32 under mysterious circumstances. She was found dead in a clearing in the woods with strange marks on her neck. News traveled fast, and the ignorant peasants started muttering about witchcraft and black magic. In their eyes, the house was cursed. Pure superstitious nonsense, of course, but gradually the farmers moved to new pastures, avoiding the estate. By now you've finished your meal. Franklin returns to offer you fruit, cheese, coffee, and brandy. Cheese and coffee? I don't think that'd be particularly good. Cheese, coffee, and brandy. See, cheese and brandy doesn't really sound appetizing to me. Let's go with some fruit, coffee, and brandy. Hopefully they're not fattening me up. Franklin brings them to you and you finish off your meal. Well, my friend, says the Earl, you must be quite tired now. It's well past midnight. Franklin's will show you to your room. You thank him and follow the butler out of the dining room. This way, if you please, he says as he leads you up a magnificent wide staircase with carved wooden banisters. A landing at the top leads to various different rooms, each with a name plaque on the door. He takes you to one which reads, Erasmus Room, and opens the door, wishing you a good night's sleep. The bedroom has been prepared for you. The room is not large, but a huge mirror appears to double its size. Crisp white sheets have been folded back on the bed, and a warm fire burns in the fireplace. The door closes as the butler leaves the room and you walk over to the fire. Your situation is a little worrying. If you don't get going quickly, you'll never make your appointment, but if it's true that there's no phone you can use, what else can you do? Maybe you should just hang your wet clothes in front of the fire and climb into bed, or rather leave the room. You know what? I'm not going to climb into bed. I have seen too many horror movies that's pretty much where it goes wrong, where you climb into bed. So let's go ahead and bookmark, and we'll try to leave the room. The door is locked. It seems that your hosts certainly don't want you prowling around the house. Yeah, this is just like the start of Dracula. Try and break down the door, climb back into bed. If you prefer, you could pretend to go to bed, switch out the light, and wait and see what happens. No. They didn't say anything about locking the door, so we're going to try and break down the door, guys. Roll 2 dice and compare the total with your skill score. If it's higher than your skill, using your initial skill score, turn to 106. So what is our skill again? Our skill is 8 out of 11 currently. You're rolled equal to or less than your initial skill, so that's what we needed. 128. You take a short run and charge at the door. It shudders, and the noise reverberates through the house, but the lock holds firm, and you bounce off, clutching a sore arm. You lose 2 stamina points for the pain. If you wish to try charging again, turn to 106. I don't have a whole lot of stamina to bear. So let's go ahead and... If you feel the door is too strong and you're unlikely to break it down, what do we do from there, though? You can hear slow footsteps approaching your room. They stop outside the room and a key rattles as it unlocks your door. You must quickly decide what to do. Uh-oh. Jump into bed and pretend to be asleep, or hide behind the door to surprise whoever is about to come in. The thing about it, we're still in our wet clothes. If we jump into bed and pretend to be asleep, we're going to give away that we did that. So, let's try and hide behind the door, maybe? Ew. The door opens slowly and a man shuffles into the room carrying a glass containing a clear liquid. He appears to be bent double and his movements are slow. As he gets nearer to the bed, you realize he will soon notice that you're not there. Do you want to nip out of the room quickly and lock the door behind you? Turn to 350, or will you leap on the man and attack him? He's got some long nails, I don't know. Let's try to attack him. That's probably reckless, but if we nip out of the door and lock the door behind us, it's not going to matter because he has the key. So, let's see what happens here. This is probably going to kill me. Your visitor is a hunchback, and he is both surprised and frightened as you leap on him. You must fight. Okay. When you've reduced his stamina to 4 points or less... Here we go. Fight on, fight on. Okay, we hit the hunchback. That's good. We're gonna pop. Ooh, that's not good. He just hit us. The hunchback is beating us down, guys. The hunchback puts his hands up and steps backwards. The poor, miserable creature pleads for mercy. He's such a pitiful sight that you step back as he grovels on the floor. He will do you no harm and thanks you continually for saving his life. What do you mean, save... Okay, we can leave the room locking him behind us, or try and force him to answer questions. Let's try and get him to answer some questions as to what's going on here, because as you can see, we are not capable of doing a whole lot of brawling. He's terrified of you and agrees to answer your questions in exchange for his miserable life. How can you escape from the house? About the people in the house? What is happening to the house? That's gonna be too easy. What's happening? Let's go for the people. The people, he asks?
Ah, yes, the people. Of course. Tonight is the night. There are many people here. The Master is holding a special occasion tonight, and his friends are here. All are friends of the Master. That is, all except the one in grey, for he has betrayed the Master's trust, and he will be punished. Yes, punished before the night is out. The Master put him in the Asmodeus room, and he's promised to let me watch. You have nothing to fear if you're a friend of the Master. You are a friend of the Master, aren't you? Perhaps he'll let you watch, too. The hunchback is giggling with glee at the thought of the night's activities. You've gained all the useful information you'll get out of him, and so you leave the room, locking him in. So, are we here on ritual night, or some such? You are on a landing overlooking the entrance hall. To your right, the passageway ends at a door. To the left, the landing turns right past a couple of doors. Do you wish to turn to the right by turning to 332, or prefer to follow the landing round to the left? Now, left turns are normally very bad in this game, so we're going to go ahead and go right. First shock is the Ooh, collect your first fear point. That's not good. At the end of the corridor ahead of you is a stout wooden door. While you're considering whether or not to try this room, a noise behind you startles you. You spin around only to find that the wind is rustling wall hangings. There's nothing to be afraid of. You turn back and are amazed to find a faint white figure has appeared in front of you. This apparition is a young woman in her early 20s with long, flowing hair. She's dressed in a white bridal dress which has seen better days, and it's ripped and torn. You gain 1 fear point. Oh, thank God I found you in time, she says. I must talk to you immediately. Come, let us get you into this room.
Oh, no. No. I am not dealing with any ghostly brides. Suspect a trap and would rather turn back by turning to 279? Yes, indeed. You turn to go the other way, but stop at the sound of definite footsteps coming along the corridor towards you. You must decide quickly what to do. Will you turn back and follow the ghost into the room at the end of the corridor, or take a chance and wait to see who is coming? Let's take a chance, maybe? The footsteps get louder and they stop. You can't see anything. By the sound of the footsteps, whoever was coming should be standing right in front of you. You start to sweat, and you gain 1 fear point. Oh, that's not good. A pain grips your chest and starts to grow. It's as if an invisible enemy is grasping your heart and squeezing, but you still can't see anything. You fight the pain, and resounding laughter echoes in your ears. Something is standing there, and you struggle to escape. So, fight this invisible enemy. Although you will do him no harm, his stamina score reflects the grip which he has on you. If you reduce his stamina to 0, you will break free and can escape by running down the hallway and turning right. Oh, he has a lot of skill. Okay, we hit the invisible enemy. That's good. And he just hit me. I'm not sure if that was... Oh, crap. We both miss. So that was a tie. Oh, why'd I pop that? That was good. You are triumphant. Okay, let's turn to the right now. Wells Terror. Escape from an invisible entity. Huzzah. Alrighty, guys. Well, that could have went better. We have 9 stamina. Our fear is 2 out of 13, and we're still unarmed. We found nothing, so this is going about how I expected it. But I will go ahead and end it here. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. It's a very different vibe from the other fighting fantasy books, and I like that a lot. But if you liked the episode, go ahead and click like down below, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help, and we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.